So you came over in 02, 03.
Something like that.
And you were walking around town drinking the English beer that we had on offer.
So my first port of call was down in Dorchester, in Dorset.
Okay.
I've only been here for 14 years, so whatever that is.
Okay, yeah.
So, so I actually got into the beer world because of that guy.
It's your fault. Not fault. Oh, congratulations.
Well, he wanted someone to drink with him.
Right.
I obliged.
Yeah.
You did that in spades.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
So, you eventually came around and set this place up.
Yeah, that's a big jump. That's
so fill in some gap in the middle.
So basically, I started off not knowing anybody, meeting up, trying to go to. We have a huge beer festival here, the Peterborough Beer Fest.
One of the things I miss the most.
Yeah, it's an amazing festival. It really is. And I didn't know anybody. I really love beer, so I decided to volunteer for it because why wouldn't you? And the first person I really got to meet on site was Matt. And so basically we started drinking together a lot.
Yeah, I showed him the ropes really.
Yeah, so taught me the ins and outs of the British ways of drinking, or at least the Matt way of drinking.
And drinking the better stuff too, not drinking the smoothie stuff.
Oh no, we were drinking. I guess it depends on what you mean by the better stuff, but yes, we'll go with that.
Well,
it was trial and error.
It wasn't the harp and the skull.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, we definitely. It was definitely cask conditioned beer. Was there? Well, at that time there was no choice.
Right.
And that was all there was. Obviously you could get keg lager and things like that, but the craft beer movement, or whatever you want to call it in this country, didn't exist at that time.
Right.
We drank a lot of beer and a lot of beer.
Drink smooth.
Actually, was there ever a chance of us drinking smooth? I don't think we ever went to a place where that we were going.
So please answer this question. What do you say to any American that thinks they should drink an English bitter like Nigel?
Go for it, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty much my take too. But they tease me on it. They tease me on it.
I think that's the thing about the difference between. So a lot of Brits, if you're in the craft beer world, they look towards the States as seeing where everything's coming from.
Yeah.
But there's a great divide. After that, the people who aren't in that side of things look at the States as being Budweiser, Coors, and everything. And I think it's the same thing in the States. We look this way, and you have the ones that are really into it that know proper stuff.
Yeah, the ins and outs. Yeah.
And then the other ones that just go, oh, I'm gonna drink.
Warm beer. Yeah.
So
you're absolutely right.
We all play the same game, just the wrong way.
Just the way around.
Yeah.
So, you very much like cask conditioned beer?
I do. My preference is keg. When I was growing up, once I turned 21,
right.
Obviously that's...
Officially?
Well, no, actually, oddly, I'm one of those oddballs that stuck to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I didn't actually drink till I was 21. I've more than made up for that in my life.
So did I.
But yeah, it was. I've been working in bars on and off since I was about 21.
Okay.
So the alcohol business has always been something I've done. The beers over here, we started with cask. Obviously, like I said before, the craft beer revolution, whatever you want to call it, is only roughly 4 or 5 years old in this country.
Yeah.
So before that, we had no chance. And like I said, Matt and I would go out. We've traveled the country drinking. I don't think that's even an exaggeration. It's pretty much
Edinburgh.
So other countries then.
Yeah, that's right. You've got broad.
But we've traveled far and wide to drink beer and enjoyed every moment of it. But then there was a time when, once I started brewing, the styles that I brew were very much an homage to home. So they're very aggressive, and they're not very befitting to cask. Sometimes they are, but a lot of time not so much.
And essentially that's how I got into brewing, is because somehow it took me 12 years to realise that if I want to drink English beer, what better way than brewing myself?
Absolutely.
And for some reason it took me that long. Of course, once I dived in, I got swallowed up by it, and I'm into it big time now.
But that's home brewing, isn't it? It's amazing.
Right.
It's a great hobby.
That's right. And I was saying to Matt earlier, I was very much in the tradition of English bitters. Spitfire, your London Pride, your 6X, your Tim Taylor's Landlord, the standard, excellent, great fare that we get. And so I wanted to recreate some of that. Well, where that's taken me now is gone totally different directions because homebrewing allows you to escape into any of those avenues that you want to go to.
I think actually though, so you hit on something that really is important to me, is that the American market was based on homebrewing.
Right.
So even the modern professional started as homebrewers. So they have that mentality, and that's what I love about the States, is that rules don't matter. You can have a guideline, but you take that guideline and you skew it a little bit and you make it your own, and that's fun. In this country, we don't do that. We're getting there, finally, but for so many years, like I said, when we were out drinking, we would drink 30 different beers. We'd drink really 2 different styles. And that became really boring, which again led into the way I brew as a brewery to not do that. And I think that was the learning process, and the difference between, I think it's the difference between being an American brewing over here and being a Brit that brews over here, because I think of things completely different.
You're more out of the box than they are, you think?
Yeah, well, I would say as a whole, yes.
Okay.
Actually, I would say yes.
You'll see that brewers here are very safe. They keep to what they can do. So if they're very good at doing the best bitter, they'll keep with the best bitter and one other, because they're afraid they may
Go too far off the path.
Especially in this region. This region's very safe.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
So you'll have brewers who've been brewing for years and years, but literally it's 2 standard beers and they'll do a guest time brew now and again.
A blonde or...
Yeah.
But I think you'll even see that, for instance, in our big brewery. So our big brewery here locally is Oakham.
Right.
Oakham make amazing beers. I mean, I happen to enjoy Oakham beers. But that being said, there is an Oakham flavor, and Oakham does taste like Oakham. There are occasions that they do break the mold and they try something different. But 9 times out of 10, if you go up to a bar and you order Oakham, that's what it
I
is.
inherited my taste from my dad, and he's very similar too. The standard traditional English beers, you know, he can't drink Oakham.
Too hoppy.
And I must admit, I can't. It's the American hops. I'm not a big fan of the American hops. Mosaic, Citra, all of that is just typically too aromatic, too perfumey, too flavorful, you know. And so my dad has sworn off JHB and all the rest. And don't get me wrong, I understand and I know they're great beers. They're just not my palate, you know.
But that is the great. So I think that's the next step on it. Is the great thing about this country now. Since I got into brewing, it's not because I got into brewing, but since I got into brewing, we've gone from, there must have been 500 breweries in 2012, something like that. Not very many, to over 2,000 now. And so the market has opened up drastically. So competition's big. A lot of really bad breweries, a lot of really good breweries. But what's really happened is that you can get any style you want. And that's the amazing thing about it, is if you drink like I do, so I don't have to drink best bitters all the time. I can choose pretty much any style I want and I can find it. And it's a fun time to be drinking beer in this country.
And you can find it whether it's in a bar or in a bottle or in a can.
Yeah, again, so the drinking methods have changed a lot, which is really strange because I'm really happy with that as a brewer, even though I don't do that. I only produce for bars and pubs. So, yeah, actually, that's all I produce for. But as a bar owner, you would think that I wouldn't want people to drink at home. But actually, I'm pretty happy with that because I think people are experiencing beer in a different way. It's becoming a lifestyle versus before, when we drink there, it would just go sit down and drink for 4 hours straight and be absolutely wankered and then try to cycle home and fail many times.
So we'll get comments on.
Oh yeah, sorry. I definitely.
No, don't apologise. This is absolutely what we need in there. And this will be slightly edited afterwards with our small chat taken out of it, you know, just so it's more factual. Your beer, does it show up here?
Occasionally, yeah. So when we set up Stoneworks, it's me and I have a business partner named Sean Page. We've been friends. Actually, we again met at the beer festival, oddly enough. So this, it was, yeah.
So your fault again.
The beer festival has oddly, as much as it's against what we do, I guess against isn't the right term, but not pro necessarily what we do here.
No, down a different drive.
Yeah, but
it does support in a roundabout sort of way.
Yeah, out of what it was has blossomed a whole new industry in the city. This place would not exist without Peterborough Beer Festival and without CAMRA. So those things are, if you look historically, are quite important. But that's if you look historically. If you look to the modern part of it, in all honesty, they don't do much for us, which is unfortunate. But it's also kind of the old guard, isn't it? And it's hard to break the mold. When people have a way of thinking, that's what they stick with. But so anyway, to answer your question is, do my beers show up here occasionally? But when we set this up, this was never supposed to be my brewery tap.
Right.
This was because I wanted this style of beer in this city. We set up this bar, and if I feel my beers could sit along with the other beers that are up there, that's where they go.
Okay.
So they do come in. They are rotated just like anything else, though. So I don't have permanent lines.
It's not a regular tap.
No, absolutely not. And it's dumb. I get yelled at by a lot of people saying, you have a brewery, why don't you have beer all the time? But that's not my ethos. My ethos is I want to bring the best of the city, and so that does not mean me taking over a tap.
Right. So, do you brew cask and keg? Or?
I do both.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a bit of a minefield because I brew towards the style of keg, and oftentimes I will put the style of keg into a cask because I am also what you'd considered a beer festival brewer. So you'll see my beers all over the country, but just not in pubs. But that being said, I'm very well known I'm just very well known because of that. Because when you go to beer festivals and you're looking for something that, like I said, instead of the 3 same beers that you get everywhere, you want something different, you look for my brewery.
I love the quote on your website. It said something about, I'm going to paraphrase here, something about being on the forefront of the beer revolution.
Yep.
Perfect.
The thing is, so for me, the important thing about that is I founded in 2012. Back in 2012, there wasn't this movement. Nobody did anything different. I mean, like I said, when we were out drinking...
That ain't good.
Who's vaping in the toilet?
Yeah, I'm okay.
You're good?
Yeah, it's recording.
Alright. So, I'm trying to think where we were.
We're at this place.
Yeah,
we were talking about here.
Yeah, did you get some shots of behind the bar and stuff as well?
I've done that way, not that way.
Okay, alright. So 20 taps? No.
23.
23 taps.
Yeah, it starts at 0, ends at 22. We're a bit of a strange one.
Are the ciders included in that? Or
no, absolutely not. That's just beer taps.
Okay, so 23 beer taps.
Yeah, 4 cider taps, and 1 unknown tap. So, it comes to a thing that we do tap takeovers here.
Okay.
We had to install extra taps because we had a tap takeover that was 32 taps.
Wow, that's a lot of beer.
For this city, it's a lot of beer.
One brewery?
One brewery, yeah.
32 beer?
Yeah. Wow. It was Torside.
Okay.
So that was our largest one ever. We had Cloudwater that was maybe near that, maybe.
Was it?
I thought it was 30, but maybe it was 28. I don't know. It was a lot. And for the American viewers, the only thing about Cloudwater is they were Rate Beer's #2 brewery of the year last year. So it was a mega thing.
Yeah.
It was just after they announced that we had the tap takeover. So it was kind of cool to have them here.
Right, cool.
But yeah, so it was 23 taps. Basically, ever rotating beer. We have basically our goal is to always have 2 stouts on, 2 lagers, 2 sours.
Okay.
Now we're kind of changing this as time goes on, but we always want that, and then everything else is free play.
And then seasonals,
Seasonals, mostly. Obviously, people want pails, so that dominates our board, unfortunately. But we run from saisons to stouts to porters to things that you don't even have style guidelines to. Basically, there's nothing off the cards, which is fun because I drink it all and I don't get bored that way.
No, there you go. Yeah, that's excellent. So, what's your favorite? Well, I mean, if you had one beer in the world at any time you could go get, what would it be?
I mean, that's a tough one. If I had one beer in the world, I mean,
what about one beer that you've sold here?
Okay, that's better easier. No, actually, that's probably not easy.
No, I can say
really
you probably
hard.
sold most of them anyway, right?
That's really hard. Probably a style is easier.
Yeah, let's go with style, then you're not putting out any brewers and
I mean, the thing is there's really little point in name dropping breweries. We carry basically the whole goal of what we do is to carry the best of the best. So it doesn't really matter what the brewery is. If the brewery produces a great beer, it does. But yeah, I'm really enjoying sours right now.
Really?
Because they're not necessarily. So there is a brewery. I will name drop a brewery actually because they deserve it. I think there's a brewery up in Manchester called Chorton Brewery, and they do all sorts of random things. But they're amazing. They are just things that you wouldn't expect to get in this country, and it's a revelation to go and to drink Mike's beer. So Mike's the head brewer there, and to get his beers and just go, wow, I didn't see that coming, and it's so fun. And like I said about this industry being boring, Mike has just gone, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna do this, and that's so cool.
And that's also kind of the road that you go down, right? You're the non-traditional, non-standard fare.
Yeah, there's no word for what I do, to be honest, except for go brew. But besides that, it's I don't play by rules, and this is definitely the American in me. I was taught by a guy who didn't play by rules, and he taught me it was okay, and I brought that ethos to the city, or to the country. And like I said, it's one of those things that it's funny to see where the industry has gone, because 6 years ago when we started, I was doing these things and people were like, why? Why would you do that? Now it's mainstream.
It's accepted and it's comfortable.
Which actually makes my job harder because now I actually have to be even more
You've got to go
extreme.
out, the more the boundaries are set further out. So you started homebrewing, right?
No.
No?
That was the weird thing about it. So my history in brewing started with my dad dying. It's a strange story, but it's the truth. I was back in Texas, in San Antonio, and my dad had cancer. It took him 2 years to die from cancer, but at the time, I didn't have a job, so I had the time to go back home and help take care of him as he went through the process. At the exact same time, there was a brewery called Ranger Creek, which is out of San Antonio, and they had just established themselves. I one day went to an event with there, and I got along with the head brewer. Got to talk to him. I was like, dude, can I just come by and, I've got time. I just want to, I volunteer, do whatever. And one thing led to another, and basically I got 2 years experience on a 30-barrel kit, which is pretty much unheard of. That's not a real thing. But like I said, so this guy, his name is Rob Landerman. He's now moved on. But he basically taught me the design process, that styles aren't styles. I mean, they're an idea, but you can still move on from them. And he taught me that creating is the more important thing. It's not by just going, this is what everybody else is doing, let's do something different.
Don't be tied down by the boundaries and the guidelines.
So I didn't actually ever, I think I did one homebrew ever in my life. I mean, it's not really, it doesn't really count.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so that all just evolved into me owning my own brewery. But again, 2 years experience gives you enough, I guess, confidence to go, I can either do this or I can't. So yeah, that's what happened, really.
Cool. So you brew on a what size system now?
7 British barrel system. It's undersized. It doesn't do what I need it to do, but it does what it does. It was never designed to do. I was never designed to take over the world. I never wanted to grow. I never wanted to be special. I just wanted to brew beer. Luckily enough, I had a friend who helped me do that. Got all the paperwork done. Made sure.
Now you're taking over.
Now I'm just annoying a lot of people, I think, is what I'm doing. But
Good beer, because I know you've won awards.
of course I won. Well, I say of course. I mean, if you haven't won an award from somebody, you're doing something wrong, really. That's a bit of a cheap shot, because a lot of people haven't won awards. That being said, yes, I've won awards. I've done quite well. I am a capable brewer. But I always say I'm not really a brewer. I'm a guy who likes to design. I brew because I have to.
Now, do you brew or do you have somebody?
Oh no, I'm a one-man band. It's just me. And then Matt calling me and telling me I need to do things.
That's it.
And what do you call and say you need to do?
Pay bills.
The Batman's coming round.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, that's about it. I mean, I do everything from design to delivery to design and delivery. That's about everything.
Right. So what's the next beer that's going through your brain to develop?
So I had a really cool beer festival about 3 weeks ago. It was a new beer festival in Norwich, and it was called the Craft Beer Mashup. There were, I believe, 11 or 12 breweries there, and basically it was a beer festival in an area that doesn't do beer festivals. Although I say that, they have the National Winter Festival, so they have a really big festival, but it's a different kind of festival. So I was trialing some beers, and I've been working on some mixed ferm stuff, and I've been really excited about mixed fermentation lately because, again, like I said, brewing standard beers has become quite boring because there's so many people doing it. So I did one that I really enjoyed. I've been playing with kombucha a lot, which is fun. And so I've done a beer called Scooby-Doo, which is obviously Scoby from the kombucha. And then it was layered over a wheat beer. So I had a slightly soured wheat beer with lactose and fruit base. So it was basically a fruit shake. But the souring agent was the SCOBY. So it shut down my brewery for a week and a half to make it. But yeah, the things you do for love.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sour beer.
Yeah, but I loved it. And the thing is that, there's lots of nowadays, because sour's becoming mainstream, you have sour pitches that in 24 hours it's done and then you move on, I didn't want that. I wanted characteristic. I want that something else.
So on the homebrew front, when we've done our Berliner Weiss and Gozes with quick sour, we've just used probiotics.
Yeah, absolutely.
And left them in the Texas garage for 60 hours at 115 degrees.
I was going to say, I'm sure it just explodes. Hi guys, how you doing?
Great. I've done a cherry, I've got a Berliner, I've got a blackberry lime in the fermented now.
I reckon that's wild as hell too, because we don't have that kind of heat here.
No, and that could be good or bad, right?
It's more tame.
Yeah.
The good thing about that is because kombucha likes a certain band of heat.
Okay.
When I do it, kombucha tends to be happy around 20 degrees, so about 68 to 70 degrees for Americans. It's really happy at that temperature, and luckily enough, during our summer, unless you have a summer like we did this year, it was freaking hot. Yeah, it was about 91 degrees here, which is nuts.
I can't hear these guys complain. I was like,
I moved away from Texas. That's a lie. I moved away for other reasons, but I hate the heat.
Air conditioning has a lot to answer for.
Yeah, it does.
I take a lot for granted with air conditioning. I go from my air conditioned house to my air conditioned car to my air conditioned office.
But you have that, that 50 feet that you gotta walk.
Yeah, and I turn bright red.
Yep.
And I've done a few festivals and homebrew pourings and this and the other. And the guys swear that I'm going to keel over and die at any time because, I'm as pale gets. In fact, that poster on the wall behind you is me. I'm one of those two shades. I'm either the white or the red and nothing in between. So.
And whereabouts are you located?
I'm living in DFW, just south of the Metroplex there. So I have a lot to do in Fort Worth with the beer scene in Fort Worth. So I'm sure you're familiar with Brewer, Martin House, Collective, Hot Fusion. And depending on how long you've been over there, that beer market has just exploded.
Just Texas.
I think there's over 60 in Dallas Fort Worth alone.
Yeah, the Texas. That's the thing is, I used to keep up when I was back there when I was 7 years ago. I would keep up, and you'd see things crop up. Then I didn't go for about 2 years, and then I went back and I was like, I don't know any of this.
That's great. The big stuff, the Pedicolas, the Franconias, the Rara, of course, they're the constants. They've been there a long while. They're going to be there for quite a while. And then, like I say, you've got all these pop-ups. Arlington has 3. Mansfield is a small popular 2,000 people. We've now got 1, and there's another one in development.
That's awesome.
It's just everywhere.
Thing is, though, there is the population.
Yeah.
And you don't have to export in Texas.
No, and the education's following that.
It is, yeah.
And that's part of the point of what we're doing with the videos tonight, the podcast, and the home brewing and stuff is to bring people from the middle course into craft brewing?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool thing, and it's really hard because, again, I was talking about in this country how back in the day we were drinking cask-conditioned beers, and you had the choice between cask and mainstream lagers.
Right.
Obviously now there's a whole middle ground of something completely different. But it's always hard to explain people who are our age, it's definitely older than us, that this beer that we have up here, even though it's kegged, it's not that stuff.
Right.
It's not, it's not Red Barrel.
Right.
Because that's what most people say.
It's not a party suit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what people say. They're like, oh yeah, if you're drinking that, it's like you're drinking what? I'm like, probably you've never had it, first off.
Right. So the question that we all have given to us in the craft beer, and I'm going to call myself in the craft beer industry because it's homebrew. But when they come into the homebrew store and they say, I want to brew a beer, what have you got that's closest to Miller Lite?
Yep.
You probably get the other angle. What is it that's closest to bitter? John Smith's.
Yeah, I mean, we will definitely get people that will ask, so when they come in here and ask for a beer, so they look for a mainstream lager. So in this bar, we have nothing mainstream.
No.
Absolutely nothing. Everything is what we would consider craft, although we don't call it craft.
Okay. What do you call it?
Just good.
Just good.
That's it. It's just quality. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Craft in this country, in the States, the term craft has an official meaning.
Right.
Here, it does not.
Okay. And also here, if you term something craft, you marginalise some of the people. Because they do like to go into that market where they don't, and they want to stay well out of it. So.
Well, the craft term is absolutely an amazing thing. If you start to watch things, you have big breweries that will just take the word craft and throw it on there, and you just go, well, it's kind of like Blue Moon.
Yeah.
Blue Moon meaning a craft beer, or what is not Petty Toppers, not the right one. That is definitely craft.
That is craft beer.
That is Shock Top.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I had a craft beer. I had that Shock Top. Yes, you did. Sure, you did. Yes. We have the same thing here. So we now have people who are pretending to be craft because they're buying into the word.
Yeah.
Which is one reason I hate it so much in this country. Because it doesn't mean anything. So we don't carry craft beer. We have beer that's just quality that happens to be dispensed in a keg system.
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
But back to like what Matt's doing, well, maybe not Matt in particular, but CAMRA and our beer festival in general, it's a national thing, is they're now pushing key keg, which is neither here nor there. There's a whole other question about dispensing these things.
We're going to come under that because
They can explain it. I've
learned something new tonight even from Matt, so I was going to bring that in. So, Matt, if you wouldn't mind, just give us the background on CAMRA as why it was set up in the first place, and then also CAMRA's perspective on, or Steve is joining as well, CAMRA's perspective on the quality beer, I'm not going to call it craft, the quality beer that's now coming to the marketplace.
Right, well, CAMRA basically was born out because in the late 60s, early 70s, we had a lot of pubs all around the country. But what was happening to the pubs is that the big players were buying those pubs up and just putting their own beers in. So in the mid-70s, we had about 5 or 6 big breweries that did 90% of the trade for lager, for bitter, for the stouts. So the marketplace itself was just the big boys. And us Brits always like to see the underdog.
We always want to fight, right?
And that's where CAMRA came in. It was some people saying, we want some variety, some quality beers. And this is another thing that was happening in the 70s and certainly in the 80s, is that the big boys were trying to cut corners. So they were using hop oil instead of hops. If they could make a bit of a saving here, they would.
I think also though that part of it though, so going into the pubco part of it, it wasn't even the doing the shortcuts on the brewing process, although there was loads of that. There was also on the bar side of things where you had what's it called, the auto return, the slots that go back into. So you would have, as you're pouring, the slot bucket would actually go back into the beers. So the beer was never going to be good. It was an impossibility. Even if you started with the best product ever, it was a day later.
It was second.
Yeah, it would run over somebody's hand. It'd gone over a drip tray that had been sitting there all day. It'd been in a glass that wasn't clean, and then that's what you were drinking the next day.
It didn't hurt me growing up.
But it was a movement away from that. We were trying to push. We were trying to get brewers to come in. We were trying to get pubs to be independent again. Because another thing is that you got more and more tied houses, more and more managers in, or leaseholders, and they found it tougher and tougher to actually keep things going. And so we saw a decline in the number of pubs, number of variety of beers, and hence CAMRA got stronger and stronger as more people said, oh, we've just lost a pub up the road, or I can't get this type of beer anymore. So that's where we started to really pick up pace, introduce the beer festivals, try to get those small independents in, and it's just grown and grown. So the beer festivals in the 70s were novel, and people thought, this is great, I'm trying probably about 10 different beers in the night.
Never normally be able to try.
Normally I'll just go in there and I'll just be sitting down drinking my pint of Bass. 10 pints of that all night.
Well, that's the thing. I would assume, obviously I wasn't here at that time, but I would assume that back in that day, the pub was literally, you had 3 choices of beer. That choice of beer didn't rotate.
Correct.
It was Bass, or a bitter, a premium bitter, a mild.
What I will say, to my detriment probably, is in 1987, I used to be at Perkins Social Club every night, drinking 7 or 8 pints of Bass. That night. It was great.
Well, Bass was a good product.
Great.
If it was kept right.
Yeah, I was 17 at the time.
That was owned by Bass at the time.
Yeah, it's that course. Unfortunately.
And Bass was good then.
Well, Bass still is good. I went to a pub only last month where they won't actually put the Bass on until it's been vented for 3 weeks.
Nice.
But it needs 3 weeks. And who's got a cellar that big?
Yeah, so they can hold it for 3 weeks.
And the thing is, this pub only sold 1 beer, Bass. All bottles.
Right.
So you can have a bottle of Nuki Brown to go with your Bass, but there's another side of it. So, through the 80s we picked up, festivals got more and more interesting, more turned up. Peterborough broke the mould in the late 80s, early 90s by going outdoors, and that was totally by accident. We were quite a big festival anyway.
Ruina?
And then we were at the Ruina.
It's not easy to say, is it?
Nah.
Never has been.
And we got double booked by the council.
Oh, nice.
And they gave us 2 weeks. And the director of the festival, and we're still the director of the festival, Michael Lane, just was like, what we're going to do? The council said, you can use the embankment. We've got a big area there. We've got toilets next door, so we don't have problems there. So Mick went out,
Or the river.
and managed to
Probably
find
too often.
an old big top.
Nice.
So our beer festival went outdoors. And on the back of that, we've just made it more professional, bigger and bigger until it then started to rain. So our top attendance was about 46,000 a year over the Tuesday to the Sunday lunchtime, which was phenomenal. In fact, the most we had in one night was just over 14,000. And it was in the late 90s when there was an English film called The Full Monty.
Yes.
About some steel workers in Sheffield.
So took the clothes off.
Who took the clothes off. So we thought it was a good idea to get some male strippers in.
Oh dear.
And I tell you something, the amount of women there was amazing. But the amount of men drinking their sorrows away was even better because they were just stuck at the bar.
That was front row though.
Right. and for those that don't know the Peterborough Beer Festival, typically 4 tents. One is a welcoming tent where you get the glass and the programs. There's 200-yard tents down the side of
Longer than that. Yeah.
longer than a football field, with beers all the way down one side, 3 tiers, and then at the far end is 2 tiers. Sorry, 2 tiers, and then across the back is a music tent with a stage and nightly music and stuff like that. That's right. And it's been 41 this year, right?
Yeah, 41st this year.
My dad's been to every one of them.
Has he?
Yes.
So every glass.
Yes, he's started to part the glasses out to family now. Hey, you need a glass like Scott's got some to take to university with him and stuff like that. But he's got a glass, or he has had ownership of a glass from every single beer fest.
Well, obviously, you must have had 2 of number 2 because there wasn't one for number 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he might have, he's had every glass available.
Yeah. Yeah, because we used to not be that big, so you could recycle and we had T-shirts as well.
Right. Okay.
So we had T-shirts for every year, and some of those got recycled round.
Right.
But the only reason I got into CAMRA is because I moved next door to the person who founded the Peterborough Beer Festival.
Okay.
And he says, right, come downtown to the pub.
You're a volunteer.
So I volunteered at the beer festival. I played for the Campaign for Real Ales cricket team, which started in '77 and is still going now. So the idea of the cricket team was to go out and play these villages, drink in the pubs and find out how good the pubs were in the middle of nowhere. So we used to do that extensively. Things have changed as more the cricket teams are more town-based. Right. But we still get out a lot.
Right. There's still pubs to try.
There's not as many as there used to be. But
So now you're the chairman of the local branch.
yeah, I am.
Okay, and that's something we didn't say. So Matt is the chairman of the local branch of CAMRA, the Campaign for Real Ale, and Steve is the owner of the establishment we're in now, the Stoneworks, and also Bear County Brewery in Peterborough, and that's Bear County Bexar, as in Bexar, which is the county that San Antonio is in Texas. So gives a bit of background there that we probably should have done right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Hey, editing is a great thing.
And in fact, one of the funny things is that one night Steve was going round a brewery. One of the things that the CAMRA members do is go around the local breweries. And I didn't go on this particular night. I was out at Digfield near Oundle. And he rings me up at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, says, I've just bought a brewery. Can you find me somewhere to put it? So I then spent the next 3 months or so trying to find a location to put the brewery into that we could afford.
So you found Tango?
So we found Tango. We looked all around town and out of town, but it had to be a certain thing to get a certain size that we had. Because these fermenters are quite tall. They're actually old milk vessels.
Oh, nice.
So there needs to be a story and a half.
So wow.
And because to get a door big enough to get them under and into at the right price is actually quite a challenge.
Yeah, I bet. Wow. But you found it.
But we found it eventually.
And how long has he been over? Probably talk to us about that.
6 years.
6 years.
Okay. And I mean, one of his first brews, because as I said, his dad was ill and then passed away before he actually opened the brewery. And one of his first and most popular beers is Papa Steve.
And now I did read some about it on his website that I saw that he dedicated a beer to his dad, or he spoke to his dad about a beer.
9% black, good.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Nice.
And when he started, you know, we had a lot of convincing to do to certainly the local trade. That unfine beers were the way to go, and now a lot of them take unfine beer. Like this place, pointing in case.
Yeah.
I think, as Steve said, things have moved on, and they've moved on really, really quickly. Same with Peterborough. Peterborough's developed.
Yeah.
I mean, we always used to go to
Peterborough's
Stanford.
Yeah, Peterborough's changed so much since I've not been there. You know, Stanford's great.
Well, Stanford always was the posh part of Peterborough. Right. So where you went for a drink, had loads of good pubs.
Where
now, so where we got married. But the thing is, now this place is better than Stanford. We've got more variety. Pubs have opened up in the town centre, and they are coming on quicker and quicker.
And these are pubs that are selling quality products rather than the mainstream stuff.
Definitely, and cans have just gone through the roof. So over the last 2 years, cans have just been now a standard to have behind the bar, certainly city centre. Right. So the Bumble, which is our current pub of the year, has got 2 fridges at the back with cans in it. Does 5 real ales on hand pump, does 2 ciders, 2 nitric, 2 pea kegs. Okay. So it does a bit of everything. Again, it won't have a mainstream lager, but it's got everything else that we push forward. And I mean,
the key kegs could serve in the lager.
Yeah. In fact, some of the hand pumps are lager.
I was going to say, you could do a hand pump. Some of the hand pump pilsners and stuff like that are fantastic. And it might be one of my next future projects. My homebrew is a because I do have 2 hand pumps, and they get used occasionally. It's not easy to set them up sometimes. But I might do a pilsner through the hand pump.
Yeah. I mean, some of the brewery,
but people struggle with that thought process sometimes because the pilsner is typically very effervescent, and a hand pump beer is typically not effervescent at all.
No, that's right.
But it's
also if you have a sparkler on it.
Yes.
How long the line is.
Yeah. And what's your thoughts on sparklers?
Well, I'm personally sparkler off.
Okay.
So I like it to have natural conditions.
Yeah. Because that's quite a point of contention as well, right? Sparkler on, sparkler off.
It's a north-south divide. I mean, it's one of these things. We can never agree.
No. Now, are you Peterborough born and bred?
No.
Where from?
Believe it or not, I'm from Toxteth in Staffordshire. So I'm just down the road from Burton-upon-Trent.
Okay.
So when I go home, all of my pubs are either Bass houses or Marston houses.
There's a lot. I love some pedigree. Love pedigree.
Yeah.
Sorry. In fact, I even tried to recreate some of that the other day through some oak and fermentation because they ferment on the Burton Union, right?
That's right. Oak casks.
And the oak did come through and it was pretty good. It was like pedigree, of course. But it was
well, you've got to get a bit of sulphur in there just to make sure that in the morning the toilet no one else goes into.
Well, you have to, right? And that's something else I've been starting to get into, some water chemistry and trying to recreate some of the water from around here. It's
some carbonisation. And some minerals in.
I'm back, sorry.
So, we were talking about a number of different topics.
I'm glad I was gone.
And some of them were you. So, talk to us both of you, if you wouldn't mind, about keg and key keg and what the difference is and how CAMRA and their perspective on it.
Well, CAMRA's, in fact, it's one of those odd things that when we started going to various places, the Great British Beer Festival was one of those places.
It's a good place to go.
And it was quite interesting that all the people in the know ended up at the American Beer Bar.
Really?
And it got more and more popular, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And in fact, when Castle Rock won Champion Beer of Britain, they didn't know what was happening. We were drinking with them at the American Beer Bar, and they were saying, we've got to do something with this, but it won't sell. And then they were called up and said, here's Champion Beer of Britain, and they don't need to sell any anymore. And really,
I think they're doing okay.
Yeah, I think they made enough money now. Just have that little gold medal on the front of the pump clip, and that sells it.
Yeah, as it should.
But the thing is, they were extolling the virtues of the beers we were drinking.
I think so. Specifically, keg is, or so this is a weird thing about me. So now I've gone basically off piste from what we would have done normally in this country.
Right.
Started off with cask, did some kegging, but very light bit of kegging, and now that's my primary. CAMRA is finally understanding loosely.
Really?
The tolls or the profits, maybe the benefits. Maybe benefits of a kegging system. Key kegs are terrible things, or wonderful things, depends how you look at them. They're one-way things, so you send them out, you buy them in, they cost an amount. You fill them, they send them out. Theoretically, they are made of high-grade plastic so that you can recycle them. In the UK, we do not have a recycling plant, so it does not happen. So that's something that becomes very good, becomes very bad very quickly.
Is there a quick description you can give of a key keg as to?
Yeah. So basically, a key keg is a bag that's inside of a plastic container. You put your beer inside the bag. You take a gas, pretty much any gas you want it to be. Doesn't have to be CO2. Basically, we like at this bar we use compressed air, and you take that gas and it goes into the plastic, but not into the bag. And it pushes that bag and forces that air.
So as they pull the tap to pour a beer, compressed air is pushed into the plastic container.
And it squeezes it. It's a bladder. That's all it is.
Constricts the bag, forces beer out.
Correct. So the cool thing about this is that the bars, the pubs, can't screw that up. And they do often.
Just early lines or something.
Well, that's the thing. So, but the dispense itself can't be screwed up by the bar. So basically, when you use a traditional keg using CO2, obviously you have CO2 that goes into it. You have a spear that brings the beer out, but the CO2 is mixing in with your product. So you have the problems of one, dirty gas lines could be inoculating your beer, but also you have overcarbonation. So people who don't actually know about balancing lines can be sitting more CO2 into that thing and just fobbing beer out afterwards. You can't do that with key keg because there is no touching of gas in any way, shape, or form. The product that the brewery puts into the key keg is the product that comes out. So that's the benefit.
Okay. So, but typically it has more carbonation in it than a standard cask conditioned beer.
Than a cask beer, yes. Well, it will do because as soon as you vent a beer, immediately as you're venting a beer, you're losing carbonation. In a keg or in a key keg, there is no venting per se.
Okay, it just comes out. So any carbonation that's in there is brewer produced.
Correct.
By some sugar put in.
Could be sugars, it could be CO2. I mean, there are still people that have, well, not still. The bigger breweries will use things that they use tanks and they carve in tank, and then that just gets sent in there. So you have a specific value of CO2 that you have. So moles of CO2 is something that brewers use to read, and so there will be a certain moles of CO2 that's in that, and that's it. It's very simple. Or you can do something that is the CAMRA backed way, which is to prime, and so that way it's to put sugar in it. So it's basically like a home brewer would do with the corning. Chuck some sugar in there, put it there, let it sit out in the warm for a while. Now obviously there's a bit of secondary fermentation. It grows CO2, and you serve that.
And then it's absorbed into the beer.
Exactly.
Just bottle conditioning on a big scale.
100%. Yeah. So obviously that's a little less perfect than the other way, but it does definitely fit into the CAMRA guidelines of being real ale, whatever that is.
Even though last year we had a massive vote off to actually change what we were doing. So CAMRA knows it's got long in the tooth. So there was a massive great list of changes to our constitution that were voted on, and all but two got passed. Unfortunately, the one related to more craft beer was one of those that got voted down. But it was close. It was very close.
What, 74%, 73%?
Yeah.
You needed 75 to pass?
We needed 75 to pass, and it got 73%.
Wow.
It was two. So,
I bet the CAMRA AGM's a good party.
to be honest, I've never been.
Oh, right, okay.
No, I was going to go, and then I was too drunk to actually get in the minibus to get there once.
Okay.
But generally, I'm not interested in that side of things. It's all about getting protection for pubs. And beer. That's all I'm
Give the consumers great beer. but also the protection for the publicans and the landlords.
That's it. You know, my thing is, you know, when I was growing up in the 70s, pubs were on every corner. In fact, you were sent round with a carry-out to get your dad's beer.
Yeah.
And we just lost one last week, didn't we? This week.
Yeah, the Heron.
Yeah, just lost this
really?
week.
Yeah, I was there on Saturday.
Oh,
closed
down
on
in
Sunday.
Stoneworks.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, but Mary, who was the landlady there, will be working at a new micropub that will be opening up south of the river in a few months' time. With a lot of luck, touch wood.
What was it? The name of the new place? I'm trying to think. I've got it on Facebook. Yeah, I've seen it. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's a funny name.
It is a funny name.
That's like a wonky donkey, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
the Wonky Donkey.
yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So another Williams brother
Yep.
production.
So, and that's the thing, right? The micro pub with the frost blows, with the Bumble, and now Wonky Donkey. That'll be the third one that I know of. There's probably more.
Well,
No, that's it in the
That's
city.
it in
well,
the city.
technically, it's puzzles.
No, I don't think so, because they still do, they do music, so it doesn't fit the guidelines.
Which had one toilet.
There's a
Yeah,
guideline,
that's true.
right?
And they're moving, so they'll have 4, so it'll be good.
Under what, sorry?
Toilets. Sorry, yeah. It always comes down to toilets. I don't know
Right,
why.
well, that's fair. Yeah. And you know, like you say, the guidelines that decide whether a beer is a craft beer or not craft beer, and what style it falls into, whether a pub is a micro pub or not. It's restricted.
It is. This is a British problem. This is the problem, is that we, here in the UK, we really want to put labels on things. For whatever reason, it's got to fit into a category.
Well, you say it's a British thing, but I know for a fact it's an American thing too. Take, for instance, competition brewing.
Yeah.
If you want to brew a beer for a competition, you've got to fit into one of the X amount of styles that there are.
But that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but it screws up with invention unless you're going to enter the specialty category.
Well, and that's why the special category is inundated
Yeah,
with
but you get
things.
to enter it once.
Yep.
That's it. You don't get to enter it. So you would have all your beers, or however many that you've brewed, and you could enter one of them.
Yep.
You know?
So taking this to my side of things, I would prefer that over using a CAMRA guidelines, which there are 6 styles.
Okay.
You have bitter, best bitter, extra special bitter, or I don't even know. It's not strong bitter, sorry, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Stout,
mild.
porter, mild, and barley wine.
Of which we merged some of those anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, when you have to start sticking everything that you brew, especially when you brew like I do, into that guidelines,
Right.
I mean,
It's going to be other every time.
I am definitely the
Apart from that
other,
mistake.
which is a stout. That one under something else, I think, at one time.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was. It was like strong bitter or something.
Okay. Oh, fair enough.
But yeah, no, I think that's the thing about this country is unfortunately because they want to pigeonhole people into things, it does kill creativity. So, for instance, this place, we call this a bar. Stoneworks is a bar. Why is it a bar? Hell if I know.
It's not a pub.
It's not a bar. No, absolutely not a pub. And the reason is we as the owners, we want to differentiate ourselves from everybody else. We're open different hours. We kind of have a different ethos. Our service provision is completely different. Basically, our servers, their goal is to have a conversation with you. It's very much an American style. It's what you would get at an American bar. Versus a pub, which is, in my experience, basically somebody throws you a beer and walks away and you
It's a
just...
community thing and rather than a publican thing.
Yeah, but the conversation in a pub would be what we're doing now versus being led by them. And that's a slightly different way of looking at things. So we personally, or Stoneworks personally, gets a lot of flack for being different. But to be fair, I'm happy with that.
But you're only getting flack from people that don't, for want of a better phrase, don't get it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Those that get it come in here and enjoy it and tell others about it, which hopefully spreads the word and they bring them in. And hey, it must work to some extent because you guys are pretty successful.
We have clientele. Yeah, I mean, we're doing fine. And that's not the complaint. The bigger issue would be, though, is getting the word out for people to understand. And they are. It takes time.
So how difficult is it for you to be a brewer for festivals, but also run a bar?
It's easy.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's super easy. The thing is I love beer. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what I love. It's an amazing product. And the people that are in the industry, whether it be on the bar side, the pub side, the brewing side, even the drinking side, if people love beer, I've got nothing. I mean, I want to be part of that industry because it's amazing. So what I do, my whole thing here is I have two roles. One is to make sure the beer is perfect. And that's where the American part of me comes in. Is the setup here is very American. There are very few setups like this in the country. So that's a huge thing for me. It's direct draw, 4 degrees, so roughly 38 degrees.
Did you enjoy that?
What's that?
Did you enjoy that?
What's that?
Having your book read.
I did. I mean, a guy just put money in my pocket. How can I say no to that?
I've got his bank card.
Oh, that's all right.
I mean, they're broke. It's all right. But yeah, no, everything about this is designed around the American system, and I love that part of it. But my real job is what I'm doing right now, which is talking. So I love it. I absolutely love it. Whether it's at the beer festival for the brewery or being here for this place, it's all about conversation. And I love the education part of it because I love it when somebody comes up to me with the knowledge and they come and go, this is this and this, and you go, okay.
Really?
But is that right?
I'm going to say, now is it the knowledge or is it what they think
Well,
is
it's
knowledge?
the knowledge.
Yeah, that's
and that's the thing. It's they know things because, and we have had it many times here, and I hate to be the basher of this, but I've been a CAMRA member for the last 20 years. I know what I'm talking about. We do get that quite often, actually. And it's one of those things you just go, cool, but let's look at it a different way.
Yeah.
Let's just reset this. And we actually, one of my favorite stories about this place is we had a group, there were 3 of them, 3 old boys that came in. And they were old boys. They were actually old boys. And that came in just absolutely spouting their mouths off and talking shit and going, well, I'm not going to like this stuff because it's all too cold, too fizzy, blah, blah. And it wasn't me serving it. I was happy to be here.
And why were they here?
Because. That's the answer. Because. And the bartender behind it was like, cool, don't worry about it. But tell you what, while you guys are here, we're just going to go ahead and give you a couple samples of what we got. Don't worry about it. Went through that, and they were like, fine, we'll have one. Had one, they became our regulars.
And you know, before I moved over to the States and tried so many, and before the craft beer market, I use that word because that's what it is in the States, it's called the craft beer market. Before that exploded over there, I might have been very similar. I might have given this place the wide walk, you know, because well, it's not traditional, it's not my English stuff, it's not a bitter, it's not a hand pump, it's not being over there, and certainly being a homebrewer, like I said earlier, it's opened up my mind to different styles, different angles, different beers. This place would be high on my list if I was still here, you know, because of the variation you offer. And because my options have now been opened up to so many different styles of beer. Don't get me wrong, I love my bitter. I'll brew bitter till the day I can't brew anymore. But it gives me options for drinking great styles of beer that I wouldn't traditionally get to try.
And I think that's the key. It's not about well, it's 100% about options.
Right.
Don't close yourself off. If you're a lager drinker, I got no problem with you being a lager drinker. But try something else. If you don't like it, cool, fair enough. But at least you tried. If you're a bitter drinker, oh, I don't really like stouts. Just try this one. Oh, it's actually not that bad. Or it's terrible. Okay, fair enough. You don't like it. At least you tried. But that's the thing, is always reevaluate.
So what I traditionally do on my trips over is I'll take as many beers as I can fit in my case, back over and we'll drink them during the podcast. So the first time I took over my standard stuff, you know, the Landlord, the Bass, the London Pride and stuff. Now we get some beers over there, we get London Pride over there, but it's old.
Yep.
And it's kegged, it's not cast, of course. We get some Speckled Hen, we get some ESB, Fuller's ESB and stuff like that. You know.
No idea.
Sam Smith's
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, and for some reason, the Holy Grail, Monty Python's Holy Grail beer is everywhere as well.
Yep.
For some reason. But
Just the name. Just the name.
yeah, that's right. So I took a bunch of that back the first time. The second time, I took back a bunch of what we called American style craft beer that's been brewed over here.
Yep.
And took that back over there. The third time, Golden Ales. Golden Ales is a newly categorized, or fairly newly categorized beer in the BJCP guidelines.
Absolutely right.
And so we wanted to get a better take on what it is and what it should, if we wanted to brew one, what it should be. So I took a dozen of those home with it. Some mild. In fact, we took 30 beers home between me and the wife.
Wow.
So yeah, that was fun. This time it's stouts and porters.
Yep.
So I'm on the lookout. I'm going to visit a few places to try and get some stouts and porters to take back. And so we can drink and do a podcast and get drunk and ramble on about bullshit and stuff.
I mean, that's really the point of a podcast, really.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to listen to you. You just want to drink and have an excuse to do it.
Yeah. So it's going to be a good night when we do that. So, and one of the other guys who spent some time in Germany this last week, and so tomorrow night the podcast I'm going to do is going to be drinking his beer from Germany. So I'm going to miss all that.
But you'll be here, so it's okay.
I will be, and I'll be at Charters too. So
Oh, nice.
So,
Under the good ship Warren.
yes. Yeah, so I'm sure we'll find something decent to drink there. It's hard not to, right?
They have beer.
Yeah.
And if in doubt, they've always got the Green Devil IPA.
Yeah.
Which, even though you don't like oakum,
It's still a good.
it's still a good.
I think it's only on keg there right now.
It is a new cake, yeah.
Okay.
Well, certainly, if everything else isn't working, it's true.
So, what I want to do now to wrap this up, if possible, is give you guys a shout out as far as where they can find you online, where they can find you on Facebook, Twitter, and what have you. Cameras, information. So anybody that wants to look you guys up can get some information on it.
Yeah.
About it.
So, from camera point of view, we're on Facebook. Just type in Peterborough CAMRA, and you'll find at least two sites that we've got. One's designated more for the landlord side, promoting their own pubs. The other one is actually trying to get more members and promoting what's happening. We do a lot of socials. So this weekend we've got actually the SEBA, the Small Independent Brewing Association, beer festival and awards for East Anglia going on at Elgood's Brewery in Wisbech.
Nice.
So there is a minibus going from Brewery Tap on Friday. So
That'll be good.
that'll be one thing.
Yeah.
We've also got the normal www.camra.org.uk website, and just generally try and Google us.
Google Camera.
Google CAMRA.
There you go. Perfect. Steve?
For me, we have stuff.
So it's
Brewery-wise, it's bearcountybrewery.com, but Bear is not Bear, it's Bexar, which is from San Antonio.
Yeah.
So BEXARcountybrewery.com will get you my website.
there you go.
As far as Stoneworks, I believe it's stoneworks.com or thestoneworks.com. I don't really remember, or maybe even .co.uk. I don't know.
Just Google the Stoneworks.
Yeah, the problem is, yes, do Peterborough, because if not, you'll get the Stoneworks in San Antonio, and that's completely different. So, yeah, it's, yeah.
And as marijuana comes more into use, the Stoneworks could be used somewhere.
I mean,
completely
yeah,
different.
I think we'll have to put a D in there somehow, but that's all right.
Anyway, I appreciate your guys' time. Steve, you had a great place, and
Thank you very much.
I'd love to taste some of your beer one day, and I will, just in case of finding the best.
Next time you come in, I will make sure we have it on tap.
Either that, or I can be over when you run a festival somewhere.
That could do that as well.
There you go.
Well, you should always come over for the Peterborough Beer Festival, to be fair.
Yes, to be fair, you're absolutely right.
Because he always has 4 or 5 on there.
That is true.
And if he wasn't moving at the end of September, I might have been here at the end of August.
Damn
so.
you, son.
But, and Matthew, again, thanks very much. I appreciate your time, and keep fighting the fight for CAMRA, because God knows we all need you.
Well, keep drinking the drink.
Well, there you go. That helps too. Thanks, gentlemen.